Frauenkirche Dresden The Journey from Creation to Destruction and Rebirth. Modern Dresden, focusing on the Frauenkirche at its heart. In the heart of Europe, on the bends of the river Elbe, stands a building that is a biography. Its stones remember the whisper of prayers, the rumble of an organ, the silence of grief, and the deafening roar of a firestorm. This is not merely a cathedral. It is a chronicle etched in sandstone. A chronicle of human genius, human folly, and, ultimately, human healing. This is the Frauenkirche, the Church of Our Lady, the legendary stone bell, whose peal was violently silenced in an inferno of controversial destruction, only to ring out again as a universal symbol of reconciliation and a stark reminder. This is the story of beauty, of a cataclysm whose military rationale is still debated, and of a phoenix that rose not just from physical ash, but from the ashes of despair. You're watching the On Travel channel. Don't go anywhere, it's going to be interesting. The audacity of stone. Birth of a colossus. The 18th century. Dresden, under Augustus the Strong, thirsts for grandeur. The elector, forced to change his faith for a crown, makes a stunning gesture. He blesses the creation of the greatest Protestant church, designed to outshine all Catholic cathedrals with its brilliance, a challenge frozen in stone. And an architect was found equal to the era, the brilliant autodidact George Baer. His design was an act of defiance, challenging the laws of physics and the tastes of academics. He envisioned the impossible, a giant dome built entirely of sandstone, without internal wooden supports. 12,000 tons of grace floating above the city. Skeptics like Zacharias Longuelune shook their heads, demanding proper forms. But Baer was unwavering. His inspiration was the dome of Venice's Santa Maria della Salute, but his creation surpassed the original. The citizens of Dresden, embracing this project wholeheartedly, donated thalers, building the church literally as a community. 17 years of hope and labor. And then, the apotheosis of Baroque. Inside, masterpieces. An altar depicting Christ praying in Gethsemane. Dome paintings by a Venetian master. An organ built by the legendary Gottfried Silbermann, which, by tradition, was once played by Bach himself. In 1743, the cross was placed atop the summit. The stone bell found its voice. For 2 centuries, it was the soul of the city, its indomitable silhouette. The Firestorm, a museum city in the crosshairs. February 1945. The war in Europe had mere months left. Nazi Germany was collapsing, its armies in retreat. And then, on the night of February 13th, the order was given. Waves of British Royal Air Force and, the following day, American United States Army Air Force's bombers set their course for a target unlike any other: Dresden. Dubbed Florence on the Elbe, Dresden was a renowned cultural jewel. Its military significance was minimal. Major factories and transport hubs lay on the outskirts, largely untouched by the ensuing carnage. The city's population, however, had swollen exponentially, with hundreds of thousands of refugees fleeing the advancing Soviet front. It was a city of women, children, the elderly, and the displaced. A city museum packed with humanity. The bombing plan was horrific in its efficiency. First, high explosive bombs shattered roofs and windows, tore open buildings. Then, a second wave dropped incendiary devices into the skeletal remains. The result was not just fire, but a meteorological monstrosity, a firestorm. A self-sustaining vortex of flame that sucked oxygen from the air and from bomb shelters, creating hurricane-force winds of superheated air. Temperatures reached 1,500 degrees Celsius, melting glass and stone. Asphalt streets became rivers of fire. The stated Allied objective remains a subject of intense historical debate: to disrupt German communications and transport, to aid the Soviet advance. But many historians and observers saw a darker psychological calculus, a brutal act of area bombing or terror bombing designed to shatter the will of the German people by obliterating one of their most beautiful cities and its civilian population. It was a strategy of delivering shock through sheer apocalyptic destruction. A strategy that would find its terrifying atomic culmination just months later in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. But in Germany, this act of devastation had a paradoxical effect. While the nation was plunged into profound shock and horror, the intended demoralization often twisted into a desperate, fanatical resolve among some. Faced with such total annihilation, with nothing left to lose, many soldiers and units fought with increased, albeit futile, ferocity in the war's final months. The bombing became a potent tool for Nazi propaganda, fueling a last stand against what was portrayed as an enemy bent on total extermination. This man-made hell, the Frauenkirche stood for over a day, a defiant silhouette against an orange-black sky. But stone has its limits. On the morning of February 15th, its magnificent dome, George Baer's engineering marvel, succumbed. It crashed into the nave, reducing the stone bell to a smoldering mountain of blackened sandstone, 14 meters high. The message seemed absolute. An era of beauty and civilization had been erased. Yet, even here, symbols of endurance emerged. The bronze Maria bell survived. The statue of Martin Luther remained, scarred but upright. And in a cruel twist of fate, the church's magnificent altar was saved by the very instrument of its destruction. Molten tin from the destroyed Silbermann organ flowed over it, forming a protective shell that shielded it from the collapsing dome. A miracle. The silent accusation. Ruins as a conscience and a protest. In the post-war years, the towering rubble of the Frauenkirche was not cleared. In East Germany, it was declared an official memorial against war. But it was more than state propaganda. For decades, these ruins served as a raw, open wound in the city's center, a silent, potent accusation. They spoke of a specific tragedy, of a destruction many saw as disproportionate, even criminal. People came here not just to remember the war, but to mourn this particular event. They lit candles for the tens of thousands of civilians and refugees who perished in the firestorm. The ruins became a gathering point for pacifists and dissidents, a stark backdrop for protests against militarism of any kind. They asked uncomfortable questions about the ethics of war, about the line between military necessity and atrocity. The shadow of the stone bell was a shadow of doubt cast over the simplistic narratives of victory. But by the late 1980s, a new whisper rose from the stones, championed by citizens like the trumpeter Ludwig Güttler. What if we transform this monument to despair into a monument to active hope? What if we rebuild, not to forget, but to perform an act of reconciliation that the war itself could not achieve? Part 4. The Greatest Jigsaw Puzzle. An Archaeology of Atonement. In 1993, an operation began that had no parallel. The Frauenkirche Dresden appeal became a global act of contrition and solidarity. Donations poured in from around the world, including significant contributions from Great Britain and the United States. It was as if the world sought to heal the very wound it had helped to inflict. The most powerful symbol of this came from England. The new golden cross for the dome was crafted by British goldsmith Alan Smith. His father, Frank, had been a Lancaster bomber pilot who took part in the raids over Germany. This Cross of Reconciliation, gifted by the British people through the Dresden Trust, was more than an architectural element. It was a profound, personal gesture of peace, closing a tragic historical circle. The Mosaic of Memory, a living document of wound and healing. Today, the rebuilt Frauenkirche is a palimpsest of history. Its facade is a deliberate mosaic. The original dark, fire-scorched stones are visibly embedded within the lighter new sandstone. They are not hidden, they are highlighted. The building is literally sewn together from its own past trauma. 43% of it is original material. It does not pretend the destruction never happened. It displays it. Inside, the restored altar stands as the centerpiece, its survival a testament to both ruin and resilience. And below, in the crypt, once a bomb shelter, lies a new, somber altar of black Irish limestone by Anish Kapoor. It is dedicated to all victims of war and violence, a silent space for reflection on the very cost that the church above so vividly embodies. The Frauenkirche's journey is more than a restoration. It is a complex dialogue with history. It forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about the nature of total war, about the targeting of culture and civilians. It stands as a rebuttal to the idea that terror can break a spirit, showing instead how pain can be transmuted into a will for peace. Its rebirth, funded by former enemies and built from its own scars, is a powerful argument against cyclical vengeance. Its bell no longer tolls in mourning alone. It rings as a warning, a plea, and a hard-won testament to the possibility of reconciliation after even the deepest of wounds.